I found this at a local antique shop uptown. One of those, actually, when I went uptown today, I found this at Goodwill for $1. Just random side note there. Man, I didn't mean for there to be a 2-week break. Or a 2-day break in between recording these vlogs, but well, there was a get-together with my friends on Thursday night. Then, Friday, I was kind of preparing to come home for the weekend. That's what's up with the incredibly different surroundings from the previous 2 videos. Same white wall, different location though, and there's a bunch of stuff behind me, unlike last time. I'm just going to get right into the video now. While I was at my friend's get-together the other night, somebody brought up a musical called Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along Blog. And that actually got me thinking about something. It reminded me that in Season 4, Chris went absolutely batshit insane. And even before Season 5 was confirmed, as in premiere date or even the promotional art we're seeing now, there was at least one poster I remember seeing on the internet where there was a far-off scene of Wawanakwa and then Chris sort of there with a maniacal look on his face, his hands raised in the classic pose while it looked like he was doing some sort of evil laugh. That is a key essential thing to talk about. How's Chris gonna be like in Season 5? Is he coming back as host? I think the most obvious resounding answer to that question is yes. Why else would he be in one of the pieces of promotional art? He's practically one of the essential parts of Total Drama. Even if none of the original cast returns in future seasons, he's practically the staple, the one constant that remains from season to season to season. Him and Chef, anyway. And at the end of Season 4, he was gonna blow everybody up. He was to the point where he doesn't care if the challenges kill anybody or not, or if he ends up getting persecuted by the executives above him. He doesn't give a crap anymore. What would he do? What's he going to do in Season 5? I don't know if love triangles or anything going on between just the contestants by themselves is really the key factor to be thinking about with Season 5. What's Chris going to do to the contestants this time around? Are the challenges going to be even more insane? Are they going to have maybe jungle bars pitted over a pool of piranhas or lions or even crazier stuff? Is every single challenge going to be that much more chance or likelihood of death than there has been in the past? I mean, there are quite a few challenges you could argue that would lead to the contestants dying, but that doesn't really happen due to cartoon logic. As in one of the best examples I can think of would be in Season 3 when they were up in the Arctic, nobody wearing a coat whatsoever, and they had to jump over a frozen river. If any of them had fallen into that lake, they would have gotten hypothermia and died, inevitably, if they hadn't been taken care of soon enough. And considering Chris's devil-may-care attitude, that would have been the eventual result. But still, what does Season 5 present now that Chris does... He barely gave a crap about the well-being of the contestants before, when he was normal, when he was close to having a sane mind, if you can even say that. Now that he's gone arguably completely off the deep end, there's going to be some major stuff that goes down. If anything, I'd argue that under different writers, or actually this may even happen in the season, the contestants may be more concerned about going up against Chris than each other. That's actually something I kind of wonder about sometimes. Now that Chris is at his absolute worst, why would the $1,000,000 come over your well-being or your life? Chris is constantly putting these contestants in danger. He's getting them to risk their lives. He doesn't keep any of his other promises. How are they so sure that they're still going to get the $1,000,000 at the end? That's still a point that they can trust him on. I know that particular point can be argued, but still. Wouldn't it make sense that at some point, if Chris gets too heinous, at least one of the contestants is going to step up and say that they should team up and take down Chris? What's even more bizarre is that the original contestants probably saw season 4 on television, at least some of them. I'll bet of all the contestants, Heather would definitely be keeping tabs, or somebody who's absolutely obsessed with the show. Even though they're not on it, they'd still be keeping tabs at the very least, because of some connection. They'd probably feel kinship with the newest contestants too, knowing what they were going through. And the thing is, after seeing what Chris did, maybe even finding articles on the internet, it'd be obvious that there'd be something released about what Chris did and what happened to Wawanakwa. Why would they still willingly pit themselves in that situation? Cartoon logic. I'm overanalyzing a freaking cartoon. A cartoon that's supposed to be a parody of reality television. But then again, that's what makes it so fun, because I love overanalyzing this kind of stuff, but at some point these questions were going to pop up, because I've asked them even from season 1. Going on a different tangent, the potential of what Chris might do, I'm going to go back to Dr. Horrible Sing-Along blog. I haven't actually seen it, but it got me thinking about another tangent, another interesting segue you could have the series go. What if Chris went Big Brother on everybody? Sort of the whole George Orwell, the government's watching you through cameras kind of thing. He made them all wear some sort of tracking device or chips. And instead of having them go to a central location to give video confessions, they all have cell phones or something on them instead that they can pull out at any time, anywhere, and give a video confession. That would be extremely interesting, because really, think of all the modern technology we have right now, how far technology has advanced. There are several things you could do with that, several plot threads you could pick up and use for total drama. You don't have to stay within a confined space. If anything, I'd say if they went that kind of route, Total Drama would arguably be one of the first cartoons to implement more modern technology into the plot threads and tangents of cartoons. Cartoons has kind of started trending in that direction by bringing in YouTube and cell phones, but why not take it one step further? And this would be doing just that. It'd be kind of interesting to see the contestants having access to these devices. And not just using them to text like Dakota was, but video chatting through Skype, maybe even having a paranormal activity thing kind of going on. That would be a really prime chance to parody it, actually. Make reference to it and parody it. You could have scenes where the two contestants are kind of talking to each other over a cell phone or something, and then one of them's like, I think something's here, and then they disappear, and there's an entire episode where these disappearances keep happening, and the contestants just keep getting more and more jarred, and only one's left, and it's up to them to discover what happened, and just... I know there was already an episode in season 1 that parodied stereotypical horror films, but I'd argue that this could make an interesting challenge, that whoever was left, whoever didn't get captured, would win the challenge. But it could go and trend in an entirely different direction from what the one in season 1 did. In other words, when the contestants get captured, there really is something horrible happening to them. In other words, Chris has them all tied up, and the contestant that's left actually has to come in and come rescue them. it's just, with Chris the way he is right now, it'd be kind of disappointing. It'd actually be kind of anticlimactic to see him return to his original mental state. In other words, not to continue with the trends he was going down. It's obvious that he snapped, and that's not going to be easy to fix, especially since the season 4 finale. How are you supposed to follow that up by just having him regress in character? I just can't see that happening. And despite the fact that I personally don't dig that particular character development too much, I won't deny that there's a lot of potential that can come attached to it. And again, a lot of different things you can do with it. Besides just the piranha and lion pit examples. I think I'm in kind of a dark mood right now, hence why I'm discussing this topic and just bringing out the most extreme examples I could think of. Actually, going back to the example of parodying Paranormal Activity, it would be pretty interesting to try to see the show try to employ a psychological form of terror or tension to bring the viewers in. And, like, from some angle, it's absolutely hilarious. You could have people fumbling around with the cell phones, doing the in-character based humor, yet at the same time kind of have it grip and bring the viewer in a bit. It's just... No, I think that'd be expecting a bit too much. The entire episode would be framed and angled from a comedic perspective. How else could you really frame it? How else could you really set it up? Yet, again, I wouldn't be surprised if the season actually opened up and in the first episode you see Chris in a straitjacket tied up to just chefs wheeling him around everywhere, and Chris announces the basic setup for the challenge and then starts laughing, and then sometimes Chef would have to take over and be the one to coherently describe what's going on. That's probably going to be what happens. Aside from Chris, another thing I'm kind of interested to see, it was obvious that they said Wawanakwa was destroyed by the radioactivity. Is that still going to be in place with Season 5? As bad as this might sound, I kind of want to see the deadly radioactive landscape stay in place. I was absolutely fascinated by it. I want to see more of Chris and his pet man-eating Venus flytrap interacting too. It's just so weird. Side note, I have a weird fascination with Venus flytraps. It kind of started after I saw my high school's production of Little Shop of Horrors. I've just been fascinated by them since. But, again, there's still a lot of potential from the setup in Season 4. I'd actually be kind of interested to see what some of the members of the original cast, the ones that are coming into Season 5, how they would sort of make their way through the radioactive terrain, how they'd interact and fend off the creatures and the terrible monsters on the island. I can just imagine some big monster coming up trying to threaten or intimidate Heather, and instead of freaking out and scaring like it wants, it either just stops, gets confused, and just stares at her, or she just glares at it and pans back and forth between her and the monster, and then the monster ends up whimpering and then running away. Just little stuff like that. Little stuff like that would really... That's what I'd be looking forward to with seeing Wawanakwa still in the state that it was. I doubt that's going to be the case, though, because they kind of implied that the EPA came in and stuff and took Chris away, and there's probably going to be some sort of a Deus Ex Machina to explain how Chris is still able to host and not being in prison and then the island's going to be magically restored to the way it was in season 1, something like that. But still, it's kind of worth thinking about how the contestants would interact, how some of the contestants from seasons 1 through 3 would interact with the radioactive terrain from season 4. It is kind of fun to think about. Well, I'll just say this much. If you guys really enjoy these videos, I owe you 2 more for this speculation phase, since I said I was going to try to record a video every day or every other day. But for now, that's pretty much it.